Welcome. You have reached review time with Emperiol. Today today review will be hashtag alive. It's a Korean film. Now, how did I come across these? I'm in self quarantine, man. So I'm watching all types of stuff. Now, this particular movie, I am a zombie fan, so I watched The Walking Dead and Fear the Dead, Return of the Living Dead, Night of the Living Dead, like all types of zombie movies. So when I seen this, I said, "Hey, what is this?" And I clicked on it, start watching it, and I just stayed tuned in. And it's a zombie film, and it's subtitles. But I followed the whole way. Now, one thing that I did want to mention, of course, it's only two main characters, Yoo-bin and Joon-woo, and the actor Yo-in is Joon-woo, and the female is Park Shin-hye. She plays as Yo-bin. Now, what I've seen after watching this full film is that a lot of movies, not a lot, but there are movies that become American movies, but originally was taken from a Chinese film. And so here's a fun fact that a lot of you may not know is that the Ring, that horror film called The Ring that came out, that film is originally from a Chinese horror film called The Ringu. And if you look it up, and back when I watched The Ring back in the early 2000s, I went and rented The Ringu to see if it was the same. It's the same exact storyline. It just when it comes Americanized, it's changed. So it's a lot of movies that we see, more or less, it's a lot of horror films that we see that is taken from. You wouldn't know that the storyline, the actual whole story, is from a Chinese film. It's just Americanized, so you think it's original from us. Another one is The Grudge. So this year, The Grudge was remade to start the whole series over again. But in the early 2000s, there was The Grudge. So the original The Grudge, if you look into the Chinese series movies, called Ju-on, Ju-on. So if you actually looked at the movie, if you were a Grudge fan and you went and watched the movie Ju-on, you'd be like, wow, it's the exact same movie, but it's just over in uh it's just a Chinese horror film. And actually, if you watch The Grudge, is it The Grudge? Yeah, The Grudge 2, when the sister goes over in Japan or uh, Asia, wherever she goes over to for the, when the sister goes over there, they took that storyline from Ju-on. They took that storyline from Ju-on. So that's an interesting fun fact. So when I watched this film, I was saying to myself, if they Americanize this movie, it could be a decent film that could lead into maybe a part two or something. Now, what the movie's basically is about, your typical zombie apocalypse. And these are fast zombies and stuff like that. And nobody really knows how the zombies are occurring. And this guy, he's this kid, teenager or young man, he's at home and he's waking up and he's seeing the stuff happen on the TV, and he looking out his window and he's seeing like stuff that's happening out front of his apartment complex or whatever. And so as he's seeing all that stuff happen, he's not really taking heed to what's taking place. He lives with his mom, his parents. His parents are not home. And so this guy he sees come banging on his door, which is like a neighbor, and the neighbor, he witnesses the neighbor transform into the zombie right while in front of him. And so he was trying to tell the neighbor while he was transforming to get out. and the neighbor didn't. Whatever, the neighbor transformed and tried to attack him while he was in there, and so he was able to push the neighbor out, and so now what he did was, when he had signal in his apartment, he was able to, when they still had like a connection with internet and all that, but all the services started to shut down, he was able to send a hashtag. He took a picture that basically said "I'm alive" and sent that out or whatever. So that was able to get out. That was like, each time he's doing like a vlog, he's recording everything, even though he loses internet connection. He pretty much is recording day to day. So when he sent that vlog out, he still had service, and that was like day 5 or something like that. Now during the course, he's losing. Of course, now you're going through the whole period with him. All the things that a person would do, that they see zombies is out there. They lost communication with the world, and they starting to feel hopeless. No food. So he has a drone. So he has a drone, and of course, he sees the drone, he get a chance to see what's going on out there. One day he's out, he see a red beam, so you think it's somebody going to shoot him, but it's somebody else. That's Yoo-bin, the female. She's across the way, and she survived as well. And so now he's happy that it's somebody like him that's alive. She's calling him an idiot because he's making all these noises. And so they devised a plan of how to communicate. So somehow they had like a long rope that went across from one apartment building to the next apartment building. And she sent him a bag full of food or whatever. So they also devised a plan they need a link. So what happens is, one of the zombies, one of the ropes that they had was pulling on the wire and almost yanked her off of. It knocked her out for a second, and then he was trying to help her so that she doesn't get killed by the zombie that was crawling up the wall. So she eventually came to, and so they created a long rope, and she came down from her apartment building, but then she was fighting the zombies to survive and to get loose so they could join together, and then she started to get trapped with the zombies. So he came down off of his rooftop to help her. And so when he came down off of his rooftop to help her, they joined together, and then they ran back into the apartment building, trying to get refuge. And this man comes out of nowhere and helps them. That he's alive, and he's supposed to be like the young man's uncle. And so the uncle, he puts like sleeping medicine inside the water or the food that he gives them, and the young man passes out. Meanwhile, the woman Yoo-bin, she's fading out, but she's not out completely. And the uncle puts her in a room with his wife, saying his wife was hungry. He want to feed her to his zombie wife. Meanwhile, the young man wakes up, and I keep saying young man because I keep forgetting his name or whatever. But his name is pardon me with that. It was one of them weird names that but nevertheless, the young man comes to telling his uncle, like, pretty much, get away, I'm trying to help her. The uncle like, nah, you need to just leave her alone and let my wife feast on her, pretty much. And so Joon-woo, that's his name, Joon-woo. And so Joon-woo tell his uncle like, nah, you need to help her. You can't do that. So they release the wife out of the room. Of course, she eats the uncle, and then now is Joon-woo and Yoo-bin. What we gonna do now? So they like, all right, we need to do something. So now the whole building is filled with zombies, and so they're making their way. We need to get to the rooftop because they see a plane out, not a plane, a helicopter outside, and so they like, yo, we need to get to the top roof. And so now they're fighting all the zombies to get to the top roof. They finally get to the roof, and the helicopters, they see the helicopters, they flew away. So now they figure they missed their flight. And so now all hope is lost. You got the zombies is breaking loose, and getting to the roof. And right when you feel as though they're about to get eaten, another helicopter comes and starts shooting down the zombies. They get on the helicopter, start flying off. And what saved them and how the helicopters knew to come to that location was his hashtag alive with the picture of him and from the location he was at is how the helicopters and the army knew to come there. And so it was a decent film, not a must watch, but I could see how somebody from the US could take that same storyline and make it Americanized, and then seeing it being popular with social media and everything like that. So in my 4-star rating system, I would give this movie, I love zombie movies, I'm gonna give this movie, it wasn't really bad, 2 out of 4 stars. Some things that could have made it better, that could have jumped it to a 2.5, but two out of 4 stars, I think that's a decent watch. So if you ever come across hashtag alive and you ain't got nothing else to watch it. You know, it's something to watch. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. Till next time.